We know that Herod and his sons follow in the same tradition, sucking up to the Roman Caesar, because they were client kings. They were not kings here by choice. They were sent here by the Roman Empire to keep the influence of the Roman Empire here. They were local people. So first we know that King Herod was building lavish cities and lavish castles and naming them after the Caesar of Rome, like Caesarea. And here Tiberius, it's named after Caesar Tiberius. His son built it. So there, Caesarea Philippi, basically it's also named after another Caesar. Because who built it there? The son of Herod. Now, there was a Greco-Roman god called Pan, P-A-N, that used to be worshipped there. Pan used to be the god of hunt, the god of shepherding, the god of fertility, the god of many things. And next to his temple, there was another enclave of other gods, smaller gods, the god of fairies, the goddess of love, many gods that used to be worshipped there. And why did they worship them there? Who knows? Yeah. But what we know is when the Ptolemies and let me remember this correctly, Antioch, basically, it was from the Ptolemies, had a war there, and they basically swore in the name of Pan to win the war, and they won that war. So that's why it became a shrine for Pan, that basically we invoked his name and we won the war. So the worship began even to start being proliferated more throughout the pagan world. So it became a famous god temple. And even though this was a country full of Jews and monotheists, the sons of Herod followed in his footsteps to actually accommodate the pagans more than the people of the land. So they built a giant castle there on that rock, and they made it into a hub of worship. Now, what we know is when Jesus went up there to Pan, it's the city of Pan. Later it became Panias in Greek. Then now people call it Banias. That's just like the name corrupted. That's what we know. A lot of names like that get corrupted over time. Now, what we know is that would be a dangerous place. So here's the thing: we're going to Capernaum tomorrow, okay? And you get the context of why would Jesus preach in these places. There is context to it. It's it's not random. So specifically in Capernaum, we know that it's on the main trade route. It's a city of rest where everyone from all over the world who's trading come to rest there. So it's a bustling city, big city, and there's a synagogue there. So people also, there are religious people there. And when you're preaching a message of God, you come to people who actually kind of like, even if they have a corrupted image, they still believe in God. They are closer to your message. You can call to them. Now, if you go to some people like in the north, in Banias, it's going to be dangerous for you. It's going to be hard for you. Because these people are hostile towards believers. They are not your typical, maybe you can convince me. No, they're stuck to their old traditions. And still Jesus went up to that place, and that's my belief, to actually declare offensive on the false gods. Because the specific wording in the Bible says, on this rock I make my church, and the gates of hell shall not overtake the church. So the gates, it doesn't make sense. When someone is attacking India, for example, they don't attack with gates. They attack your gates. They try to break open your gates and come into your land. Same idea here. The gates of hell shall not overwhelm the church, meaning the church is trying to break open the gates of hell. That's what it means. And we know it because it's just shortly after all of the pagan statues disappeared. We did not find any pagan statues there. We found the places of worship, but all of the statues were gone. We had statues there for thousands of years. They were all gone, and we found a church next to the place. So we knew that if you want to call it a prophecy or if you want to call it a command, it stood. And there's a few things that, a few walks or a few treks that you can do around the Banias park. There is one 6 hours, one 2 hours, one 1 hour. We're gonna do the most meaningful one, a 1 hour trip. We're gonna go visit and see everything that we want to see and get out of there. But basically, to sum up the history of it, it used to be a metropolis of false god worshipping, and that was the northest place that Jesus wanted to reach before he made his journey back to Jerusalem. And we know that shortly after, on the way back, he rebuked Peter when basically he was telling them that I'm going back to Jerusalem. I'm going, basically telling them the actions that are going to be transpiring in the next period. And basically him being crucified and all of that, Peter was like, no, surely not. You basically, that's not going to happen to you. And he rebuked Jesus. He rebuked Peter. But he was rebuking the devil. And still on the way back, they climbed up the highest mountain. And we visited there yesterday, the place of the Transfiguration. Because that was the first admittance of Peter that, you are the Messiah. You are the Son of Man. So it was like, basically it kicked into high gear all of the action that happened in the Holy Land. The final week of Jesus and the spread of the message and all of it. This is the last setting up in the story. So it's a very great place to visit. It has a lot of meaning, I think. And on the way there, we're gonna see a bunch of plains, grass, and also the borders to Syria and Lebanon, because the Golan Heights up until '67 were a part of Syria. And that's what you heard about Trump. He did not just move the embassy to Jerusalem to show his love for Israel. He also declared that America acknowledges the Golan Heights as a property of Israel, or the sovereignty of Israel over the Golan Heights. Even though when Israel first started, they did not have them. They just took over them in the year 1967 in the 6-Day War. So now we have access to Banias because of that. Before that, we did not have access. And we're going to see Kiryat Shimoni. That was the northernmost part of Israel before 1967.